Hello everybody, welcome back to my Bible study. So I did an introduction episode last week where I introduced the study as a whole, which is a little hard to do without knowing 100% sure everything that's going to be talked about. So I couldn't do a complete overview, but yeah. So it's going to be easier this time because this is an introduction to Genesis, particular book. I have my Bible, this one, open up to the introduction, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to read the introduction to it in the other Bible. So one thing I will notice that it doesn't say it in my Bible, like the one, when I say my Bible, I mean the one I've had since forever, and my new Bible says something, gives a little bit more information in some areas. Like, this Bible doesn't say who wrote the book of Genesis. But the new Bible, it does. Because Moses is the one who wrote it. There's multiple ways that that's possible. God could have told him what to write, like the things that needed to be written down, or he could be writing down the stories passed on and among the people. It could be either. You gotta keep that in mind. And Genesis spans the time from creation, however long that took, whatever method God used, creation, all the way through the events of Joseph's life, up to Joseph's death. That's the time frame. It goes from creation, talks about life in the garden and the fall, and it talks about Adam and Eve's kids, Cain and Abel, story of the first murder, and Cain's outcast. And then it goes into genealogy, which we probably won't go into that into too great a detail. I'll probably just skim over that and say like this verse through this verse. It talks about genealogy. I might pick out names that I recognize as being important. It talks about the story of Noah, and then goes to more genealogy, and then story of the Tower of Babel, genealogy, goes through Abram's life, who we know as Abraham, because we always talk about him as Abraham, but he started out as Abram. It talked about Sodom and Gomorrah. It has genealogy speckled throughout the entire book. Then it talks about someone called Abimelech, and then of course Abraham's son Isaac. It talks about Ishmael as well, some L in there, and Esau, Jacob, and Joseph. So anyways, that's the overview of the topics it covers. So I'm going to read the introduction that it has in my thing because with every book, my Bible has this little introduction pages, usually 2 pages, either left and right or front and back. Anyways, under content, I will read that first. Genesis is a bottom line, this is how it is, no sugar coating kind of book. When we ask the big question, where do we come from? Genesis gives the big answer. We come from God. He made us and wants us to be in a relationship with us. And that doesn't, keep in mind, Big Bang Theory people out there, doesn't discount that maybe God used the Big Bang Theory. It says 7 days, but God's days are not numbered the same as our days are. When we ask the basic question, who do we come from? Genesis gives the honest answer. This is who they are, but you might not like everything you see. You can know that you're from people who have done bad things, but that doesn't make you those bad things. You are not responsible for the problems of your ancestors. It says who we came from. That doesn't mean you don't like everything. Genesis has loads of famous stories and people, from Adam to Noah to Abraham to Joseph. It's a who's who of the lightly populated days of the earth. What's amazing about this book, though, is that, unlike a who's who, Genesis tells us the real scoop on these people who established the original cultures of the world. We read about their failures, not just their successes. We read about their mess-ups, and their doubts, and their, well, flops. From this very first book of the Bible, God lays a foundation. We are what He created when He chose to love and be loved. He is the God who embraces us humans, warts and all, and even uses us to make the world a better place. I'm going to go out on a limb here. When that says warts and all, it means flaws and all. You know, the ugly parts of ourselves that we wish we could just snip off. He loves us even with those. We are all flawed. Every single human being is. But God loves us anyways, and we're to love like He loves us. His outline. The outline is chapter 1 through chapter 2 is the story of creation. Chapters 3 through chapter 4, verse 15 is the first sin, first murder. 4:16 through 5:32, descendants of Adam before the flood. Chapter 6 through chapter 9 is Noah and the flood. Chapter 10 and chapter 11 are the descendants and the Tower of Babel. 12 through 25 verse 18 is the story of Abraham. 25 verse 19 through chapter 36 is Isaac, Jacob, and Esau. And 37 through the end is the story of Joseph. Under purpose, it says, a living being, God, is the source of all things. He wants a personal relationship with us based on our trust in His promises. Theme is beginnings. Date of writing is 1445 through 1400 BC. So, about the time span Moses took to write this. As I said, it doesn't say in this one, but it says in the other one that Moses wrote it. Also has these things right here. It has a quote from chapter 12, verse 3. It says, I will bless those who bless you. I will curse him who curses you. And in all the families of the earth, in you all families of the earth shall be blessed. That was God's present promise to Abraham, I believe. If I remember right. I'm pretty sure. We'll see when we get there, for sure. We will know for sure then. Anyways, it has a little book box that says Bible Talk. Creation. The story of creation, as simple and clear-cut as it is, has been the subject of a lot of dispute. Was it literally 7 days? Did God create everything as full-grown? If God created just one family, where did all the other families come from? Was it really an apple that Adam and Eve ate that ruined paradise for us all? That question is well up in the air because it doesn't say apple. It says fruit. It could be any fruit. It could be a fig for all we know. No matter how much people disagree about all these things, we don't know about how God created the world. Genesis gives us concrete information about what we do know. God did create the world from nothing. He did it miraculously through a process only He can understand or recreate. He did it with a plan and a purpose that we are now living out. Could He have used the Big Bang? Yeah, He could have. He could have been the one to set that in motion. Could He have done it over thousands of years? Yeah, sure. God's time doesn't run out the same as our time. A thousand years could be a single day. Or 2,000 years could be a single day. Who knows? And then it has another little circle spear that says total truth. What's up with all the wives? This is one of those. This is one of those topics. If people go, I've heard people ask me sometime before, well, in the Bible there's men with multiple wives, so how come Christians believe in only one wife? Just because there's multiple wives, it doesn't necessarily mean that God approves of that setup. He doesn't approve of that setup. It says, if you're married or have noticed any married couples around you lately, you're probably aware that one husband and one wife seems to be a challenge in terms of any long-term commitment. In Genesis, things are even more complicated. Men often had more than one wife, and sometimes had children by many wives, and servants of those wives. Genesis gives us a window into an ancient world that can be wacky, to say the least. Remember, though, that God never encouraged polygamy, or commanded it, or even honored it. Before Sarah died, Abraham had no other wives. As far as we know, Isaac only had one wife, and there seemed to be only one Mrs. Noah on the ark. And the thing with Ishmael, he came from a servant. He didn't come from a wife. She wasn't his wife. She was a servant of whom he happened to end up having a kid with. If I remember, I don't remember right if Sarah was the one who encouraged him to have a child by her so that they could have a child because she thought she was barren and couldn't bear children, or if Abraham made that decision. I don't remember off the top of my head. We'll find out when we read it, though. But either way, God definitely made it clear, if I remember the story right, that he did not approve of such fallacy. It was a failure on their part. Weakness. Which is it's an understandable weakness. I mean, if I got married and we were trying to have a kid and we learned that I was infertile and that I couldn't have a kid, I would be devastated. If I wasn't, and I can't say for sure what I'd do because I've not done it, but I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't tell my husband, hey, go have sex with someone and we'll take their baby and raise it as if it was our tooth. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't do that. But I could see how someone might be tempted to do it. Even though it's wrong. I mean, I could see how people are tempted to do wrong without approving of their actions. Like, I can see how we might come to a place where people riot and stuff, but I don't approve of riots. In fact, in my opinion, that's the worst possible thing you can do to try to get noticed. Because in my opinion, yeah, that's a completely different topic. I'm getting off topic. Let's move on back to topics. If you want to know more about that, I'll tell you more. But you gotta ask. Anyways, so that's it for the introduction pages in that book. In that Bible. Let's see if it says anything different in the introduction pages in this one. I need to get tabs to mark the beginnings of these. Alright. This one says... Oh, this one has a different dates. It says 1450 to 1410 BC. So, I think this is a later... This might be a later... been made later than that one, maybe. It's possible. I'm not sure. I don't see anything here giving me a date of publication or anything. Hold on. There's got to be something here. 1984. And this one says 2001. So this one's late. The other one's later. So it's hard to know for sure which one's more accurate with the dates. But they're the same general area. So anyways, this one says Genesis is the book of beginnings, which Genesis is the Greek word for beginnings. Beginning. It records not only the beginning of the heavens and the earth, and of plant, animal, and human life, but also of all human institutions and relationships. In terms of types, it speaks of the new birth, the new creation, where all was once chaos and ruin. With Genesis begins also the progressive self-revelation of God, which culminates in Christ. The three primary names of deity, Elohim, Jehovah, and Adonai, which I'm going to point out right now, Elohim is also used in reference to the divine beings who are on the divine council. I believe it's also used for reference to angels. So Elohim, depending on the context around it, can be referring to multiple different things. And it's been inferred which one it means in the translations. I'm sure with help of people who know the language really well. And the 5 most important of the compound names occur in Genesis, and these in an ordered progression which could not be changed without confusion. The problem of sin is affecting man's condition on the earth and his relationship to God, and the divine solution of that problem are here in essence. Of the 8 great covenants which condition human life and progressively unfolded divine redemption, and 4, the Edonic, Adamic, Noahic, and Abrahamic covenants are in this book, and these are the fundamental covenants to which the other 4, the Mosaic, Palestinian, Davidic, and New Covenants, are related chiefly as adding detail or development. Genesis enters into the very structure of the New Testament, in which it is quoted more than 60 times in 17 books. In a profound sense, therefore, the roots of all subsequent revelation are planted deep in Genesis, and whoever would truly comprehend that revelation must begin here. The inspiration of Genesis and its character as a divine revelation are authenticated by the testimony of Jesus Christ. And then it gives a list of verses. And supplemented by the testimony of history, as indicated in notes throughout the book. Archaeology bears witness to the historical reliability of Genesis. And this. Anyways, I'm going to read off these verses. The first one is Matthew 19, 4 through 6. Which I'll go to them in this book because I have these tabbed so I can find them. I need to get some tabs for this one. Okay, so that's 19, 4 through 6. Let's see. And he answered and said to them, Have you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then, they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate. Which sounds like, in that section, it's talking about marriage and divorce, but it refers back to Genesis. This is what it's saying. It's things, all these chapters and verses go back to refer to Genesis. They refer to the beginning, God's intention for man. One man, one woman, married. Marriage is supposed to be for life, etc. You know, divorce was not in God's plan. It's a thing, and personally I believe there are reasons why one might take the road of divorce. Like, I don't believe that God would want you to stay in a relationship that's just abusive and never is going to change. But marriage and divorce, marriage is meant for life. That was the intention. That's why we gotta be picky about who we marry. I've had a big whack over the head reminder of that lately. But yeah, meant for life. Anyways, another passage it says is Matthew 24, 37 through 39. And then Mark chapter 10, verses 4 through 9. Then Luke 11, 49 through 51, as well as chapter 17, 26 through 29, and verse 32 as well. Then John chapter 8, verses 21 through 23, as well as chapter 8, verses 44 and 56. Anyways, continuing on, it also says that Genesis may be divided into 5 parts: creation, the fall and the promise of redemption, the diverse seeds, Cain and Seth, to the flood to Babel, from the call of Abram to the death of Joseph. And that's about how my original Bible I've had for years split it up as well. So generally I would say that is correct. Anyways. So that's it. That's the introduction to Genesis. I hope I covered everything that there needs to be covered for an introduction, and of course we'll go into details about everything as we go through the Bible. I will probably make between now and next week. I'll probably go through and make notes using these Bibles and my other resources on all of chapter 1, and then we'll go through and we shall see how much we can get through it, because I want to keep these episodes 20 to 30 minutes long as my videos for everything else are, just so I can keep the format consistent throughout my whole channel. You know, I don't want to break too much from that. And besides, we don't want to go into too much too quickly, because too much information all at once can just, you know. So go through this. Let's go through this at a nice pace so we can keep up. Anyways, I will pick this up, and we will begin in chapter 1, verse 1 of Genesis in the next episode. In the meantime, thank you guys all so much for watching. Like and subscribe down below if you want to see more. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and as always, keep it real, spread the love, and stay determined. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Bye.